Hi, I'm Sean Seal, and this is
Jill Seal.
And we're the owners of Sierra Nevada Adventure Company. When we started selling kayaks, of course, we had to stock stuff, and
so we have a lot of animals that need their forever homes right now. So come out and see us this Saturday from 9 to 11 to 2, excuse me. I'm thinking of the microchip clinic. Okay. Our next announcement is Love Your Pet. This was given
and that
and
for among our staff.
Stay present.
We really enjoy each other's company, and we choose to recreate together. And
we report out from our
try to have fun with them too. We try to communicate our passion for the outdoors, and I think I.
Back, everybody. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Now we're good.
Yes.
Welcome back, everybody. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Supervisor Toffenelli, would you lead us, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you report out from our closed session?
Report out for closed session today, February 11th. Item 1, pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, conference with real property negotiator Marcos Munoz, re potential purchase price and terms of payment for APNs 042, 034, 013, and 042, 034, 007, 509 East St. Charles Street, negotiating party Bill Johnson, KW, commercial. Board action, no reportable action taken. Item 2, pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 D1, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation in Wellpath Holdings, Inc., number 24-90533 ARP. Board action, a motion by Supervisor Stopper, second by Supervisor Follendorf. The board voted 5-0 for Ballotarian Hester and Hayes, LLP, to represent the county's interest in the above action.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on that? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff announcements. Lisa, who have you brought to us today?
We have Mighty Mickey. Good morning, everybody. So this is Shauna and Mickey. I'm calling him Mighty Mickey just because of where he came from. He was dumped at one of our local gas stations in a pillowcase. When he came in, I don't know if Stacy can bring up the PowerPoint, but he came in with an oozy sore, and the Good Samaritan brought him in and had already taken care of him. He has some serious hair loss and damaged skin, and the veterinarian diagnosed him with allergies, ear problems, and anemia. I mean, that just rips my heart out knowing that he was dumped because probably someone couldn't take care of him with all his issues. But he's been a trooper through it all. He's resilient and keeps his joy. That's, as you can see, he's very joyful. That's why we're calling him Mighty Mickey. He bonds quickly and he may be housebroken. He has really good leash manners and enjoys his walks. He will sit for treats. As a matter of fact, we had to give him a treat because we thought he was going to start barking. He is adaptable and has gotten along with a variety of neighbors that he has had over the last month. He will bark. That's another reason why we call him Mighty. At the big dogs, just, all the little Chihuahua mixes think that they're tough dogs. So a meet and greet is required if you have another dog. And I do want to announce that Ace was adopted last weekend, but we still have Bailey. But I heard that it was someone's birthday on Sunday, so this would be a great birthday present.
Thank you, I already did a foster.
That's right. Supervisor Hubbard has raised us with so many adoptions.
He's got a bow.
Yeah, see, he's coming ready. You can take him home right now.
How old do you think he is?
He's 6 years,
6 years.
about 6.5 years old.
I'm not thinking about it.
So our next announcement is we have our first Focus and CCS free rabies and microchip clinic of the year. It's scheduled for March 8th here at the Government Center from 9 to 11:30 a.m. Dr. Mike Hayes will be the attending veterinarian, and we have more upcoming clinics on April 12th, May 3rd, June 14th, September 13th, and October 11th. We look forward to seeing our Calaveras community animals and their humans at these events, and we are forever grateful to our Focus and our volunteers, truly grateful. Next announcement. Our partners with the Calaveras Humane Society recently provided CCAS with the status of our voucher program and the neuter and spay program. So today, as of January 30th, 520 vouchers have been issued. $43,633 have been billed towards the grant and paid out. And we still have another $40,310 in vouchers that have been issued but not yet submitted for payment. We estimated that we could spay about 1,000 animals in Calaveras County, and we're at that halfway point right now. So we have that goal of reaching about 1,000 animals, and hopefully we are aiming to fulfill that. We would like to thank the Humane Society for their ongoing collaboration and for administering the voucher program on behalf of CCAS and Calaveras County. Their collaboration and partnership have led to success for Calaveras animals and their humans. I know this is a long staff announcement, so we have a lot going on. So the next event we have is our Valentine's Day event at the animal shelter. And this is where you can meet eligible bachelor and bachelorettes of the four-legged kind. It will help you build lasting relationships, ever-loving, fur baby homes, get them a home, and unconditional love that our animals give us all the time. This event is to be held this Saturday from 11 to 2 here at our shelter. We look forward to seeing our community out there. We have some amazing animals. This is only one of, I think we have almost, how many dogs now, Shauna? 40 plus the puppies. We have a lot of puppies, and so we have a lot of animals that need their forever homes right now. So come out and see us this Saturday from 11 to 2, excuse me. I'm thinking of the microchip clinic. Okay. Our next announcement is Love Your Pet. This was given to me, and I just kind of wanted to touch on this. This was an event that was very successful this year. We doubled the amount of money made from last year, and the amount of participants increased by 1/3. So we're real happy about that. And that is all I have.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are you sure about that birthday present?
I'm pretty sure. Thank you. He's a wonderful dog.
Oh, he's happy.
He'll come soon.
Yeah, and he's improved significantly.
It's the biscuits in our pocket. That's how they control me, getting me in and out of the room.
Yeah, we finally have his skin condition under control now, so that's the best thing to make him happy.
Thank you. Are there any other staff announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to general public comment. Madam Clerk?
Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agendas may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the next order of business. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued as the last item of business in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard.
Mr. Stoughton?
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and Board of the Calaveras County Supervisors. I had no plans to ever show up here again. I just didn't want to. It's far away from where I am and had a medical emergency that kind of shine a little light on the situation. and I got a call from one of your constituents, and I explained to him that it's a small county. People oftentimes are naive of what needs to be done, and that includes our elected officials. And I said, this has been this way as long as I can remember. You know, I've been coming here to this board since the very early 80s. I've seen and known supervisors, staff. For the most part, I loved them all. Made corrections over the years, showed them the way. I had a very good teacher. Besides my academic advisor and spiritual advisor, Cornelius Buckley, who was a Jesuit priest, I worked for a former governor, and he showed me that how easy it is to talk. Part of my job, he would throw me out in front of the public and have me warm up the mic for him. And he said, just say what is deep in your heart. Do not worry about preparing anything. Yeah, speak to people as you would speak to a close friend. And I do that. I do that. As you know, if you read any of my emails, I was recently in the hospital. And it was a good experience. Friends, some in the medical profession showed up. And with my input, I have that hospital running better than it ever has.
Super. Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Any comment online?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request the removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion.
Would any member of the board like to pull anything from the consent agenda? No? Anybody from the public?
Agenda. Let me see what I want to. Did want to talk about something on the consent agenda, and yeah, let's go with the conflict of interest code number 11 on that. Just a few
Number
words.
11, did you say?
Number 11.
Okay. Anything else? With that, I'll bring it back to the board.
Move with other than 11 being pulled.
Want a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
We'll move on to item number 11.
Item 11, resolution, Clerk of the Board of Supervisors, adopt a resolution revising the conflict of interest code for the County of Calaveras by amending the code's appendix as a result of the biannual review of the positions required to file a statement of economic interest.
Yeah, I speak.
Yes.
The reason I'm pulling number 11 is my ethics, not the ethics of any of you. And this is last year, the year before, your attorney, your county counsel, here, I can't read their name, Sarah Edwards, made a big hoopla that she couldn't be fired by the chief executive officer of the county, and you voted it into code. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because she's protected by statute and contract. Well, I think if somebody's is going to want to make a point of their job security, I think they should make a point of their of their responsibility and what is required before the public. And I want people to be able to look at that and say, okay, I can pull those 700. By the way, I've never pulled a 700 on them. So I would like county council to be added to that list. And there are a couple that may have been overlooked. I don't know, because I just go over these documents. I just have to scan them. I don't go with the fine-tooth comb because there's a lot of other things that I have to take care of in this world. But please add that. Please add county council to this list.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for any comment.
This is updating according to state law. I mean, following the conflict of interest codes that have been updated. And
Yes, state law mandates that certain individuals, such as board members or county council, file Form 700s. This is locally, we can then add additional persons who are not in state statute. That's what this is. So that's why board members and county council and other positions that are already required by the state aren't on this list.
with that, I'll make a motion if no one else has anything.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, now we'll move on to the regular agenda.
Item 16, action item, Public Works. Select a slogan for the California Clean California Keep Calaveras Clean project.
Anybody want a copy? I have copies up here.
I can pass them down. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and board members. I'm Kelly Zahnizer from the Department of Public Works. We want to thank you for the opportunity to bring this item to you today in support of our Clean California project. Last year, Public Works applied for and received $975,000 from the Clean California Phase 2 program for our beautification and enhancement project. And if you're not familiar with the project, it contains 5 components. The Murphy's Park pedestrian bridge repairs, which were completed this past October, and thanks to our road crew and project manager Jacob Lyle, we were able to do that on time and under budget. We also have the Murphy's Community Park lighting project, the Pennsylvania Gulch multi-use art path project, the social media outreach campaign and volunteer park cleanup days, and lastly, the countywide anti-littering signage project, which will impact the entire county. Lori Dodge was supposed to be with me today. I think she's running a little bit late, but she's here, yay. Hi, Lori. Lori is the project manager for the last component, which is the social media outreach, the volunteer park days, and the signage project. And if you're interested in participating in the volunteer park cleanup days, please reach out to Lori at 209-754-6401. Thank you, Lori. Today, we're looking for your help, the board's help, to select a final slogan for our social media campaign. Since September, we conducted 2 online surveys asking the public for their input and for them to select their favorite slogans. We also gave them an opportunity to make recommendations for slogans as well. For your consideration are the top 4 slogans as ranked by the public and 1 slogan that was suggested by the Calaveras Council of Governments. The slogans are Keep Calaveras Clean, which received 23 votes. Keep Calaveras Clean and Green, which received 21 votes. Leap into Action, Keep Calaveras County Clean, received 20 votes. Keep Calaveras Clean, Do Not Litter, received 14 votes. And then from the Calaveras Council of Governments, we got We Care, Keep Calaveras Clean. So now it's your turn. We need your help to make the final slogan selection. This slogan will be used throughout the project moving forward, especially in the social media campaign and anti-littering signage. So I'll leave it to you all to deliberate.
Do you have any questions or ideas?
Please.
I have a silly, stupid question.
Please.
Can you put emojis with this?
I think we can do that, yes.
Well,
Lori, can we do that?
I like the leaping.
Lori
I like
said
the
yes.
Green, but if you've got the little frog face, it's
Yes, I think the thought was that with whichever slogan we select, there'll also be a little logo emoji type situation.
Yeah.
There's many emojis. They're going to
Yes.
change it every week or once a month.
That's a question. I don't know. I like, personally, I like Keep Calaveras Clean because it's short, it's to the point.
It'll fit on signage.
Yeah, it's short and sweet, and I think that works. But I just was wondering if you could doll it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Supervisor
To
Popper.
jump on keeping Calaveras clean with a frog. Yeah, keep it clean or keep it clean and green.
The top two sound the most fluid and straight to the point. I minus the cost of extra words being on signage,
You prefer the green?
I keep it clean and green.
I could go with either. Supervisor
Water your
Toffenelli,
yards.
do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, my opinion is I like what COG came up with, just adding we care, keep Calaveras clean. I think it gets to the point.
Yeah. Supervisor Follendorf?
I like the same thing with Gary. Like the same thing as Gary. I like that we care. But for the theme, the top two, I find I think to keep it short and sweet, and any of them can have the frog emoji.
Thank you.
And we can incorporate a we care component in it. If you choose the Keep Calaveras Clean, we can use we care as part of the the end result. So that kind of can make it both happy. I'm sure Lori can find a way to incorporate we care into it. I think. Come up here, Lori. We can't hear you.
Supervisor Randolph, do you have
Yeah, so when you say incorporate it, like in kind
Yeah,
of
so like in
different levels
the
in different places,
sure.
but maybe I'm in favor of keeping it the shortest
Keep it
one
short.
as far as the main slogan. But they're all great.
Yeah, the public did a great job. We got a lot of responses, so we're really pleased. And it would be great if it could reflect what was suggested by the public. I think that's awesome. And we can take what the COG
Is there any
recommended
public
as well.
comment in the room?
I think this is a wonderful initiative on your part. The problem for me is Calaveras County isn't clean. I see it all over the place. I even see it on my own property. Recent storms, somebody had been, over these many, many years, has been throwing their construction material down one of my mine shafts. Water came up, spread all over the place, and had to take it to the dump. But more to the point is, we have to emphasize in this county, keeping any property that can be seen from a county road reasonably clean, free of garbage, trash, junk, free of vehicles that may not be running, free of RVs that are maybe lived in illegally, of course, in Calaveras County. We do not allow in this county people to live in RVs. And a lot of those are dilapidated RVs, and that makes it doubly, triply, quadruply worse. I have a little time here, and to the point of any of these initiatives coming forward, I have to thank Calaveras County staff. Never have meetings been so short as in recent memory. And I think that's occurred since the pandemic. And I have to thank, I'm not sure if your staff or a consultant, but for the wonderful presentation you just, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So, is there any other public comment?
We have no online public comment.
I'll bring it back to the board. Should we go with Kelly's suggestion that we keep Calaveras clean as the main slogan, but with the added that we care when appropriate? Supervisor Stopper?
I'm good with either, at times, but also, they should keep it clean even if they don't care.
Yeah.
Good point.
Are we gonna add the frog?
Care.
The emoji?
That's up to the board.
I say with that in the emoji,
Okay.
right? I mean,
Is that a motion?
yeah.
So can you say what your motion is,
Yeah,
though?
my motion is that keep Calaveras clean, add the we care when you're pushing out social media, but in that slogan also add the frog emoji. Whatever that frog emoji looks like.
It's got to be a smiling frog emoji.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Because he cares.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Oh,
it.
sorry, did you? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Kelly. We'll move. Thank you. We'll move on to item 17.
Yes, item 17, Agreement Public Works, authorize the board chair to execute Amendment 15 to Agreement 12001806 with Dewberry Engineers, Inc., increasing the maximum amount payable by $251,316 for a total not to exceed amount of $3,630,603.
Greg.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I don't have an emoji. That'd make this more exciting.
We'll have one for you soon.
Okay, very good. My grandkids enjoy that. No, this isn't quite as sexy an item. We're here today to talk about an amendment to Dewberry's contract with the board. You know that they're our project management firm, but one of the oddities of that particular contract is that's also through them, that's how we get access to tribal monitoring services. And Dewberry has a sub-consultant that they've used over the years to do that, the ones that actually monitor and coordinate the payment to the tribe. Our last sub-consultant, Alta, their contract ran out at the end of last calendar year, so in December, and they informed us a little late in the game, but informed us that they opted not to renew their contract. So we had to look for an additional or new sub-consultant, and Dewberry has come up with the firm of ASM Affiliates. So that's what this amendment is about. They had submitted a proposal for about $300,000, for these services. Dewberry was able to negotiate that down by about $49,000 for $251,000 and some change. So it's recommended that your board go ahead and approve amendment number 15 with your agreement with Dewberry, increasing the amount of the contract by that $251,315 and 50 cents up to the maximum of $3,630,603 and 38 cents. If you got an emoji that will go with that.
You don't want to see that.
Does the board have any questions? Supervisor Fallendorf? No. Thank you. Is there any public comment?
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. Well, with that, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move the amendment as recommended by staff.
I'll second, recommended by Amanda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Oh, sorry. Supervisor Stopper?
Got a comment?
No comment.
Question?
Oh, I apologize. I just assumed. And that's wrong. Are there any nays?
Nay.
Nay. Sorry, passes 4-1. Apologize for that. Okay, we'll move on to item number 18.
Item 18, Agreement Public Works, authorize the board chair to execute Amendment 12 to Agreement 12001805 with Doken Engineering, Inc., increasing the maximum amount payable by $319,426 for a total not to exceed amount of $7,925,737.
Mr. Pedro.
Chairman, members of the board, this is a close cousin to the first item. Alta also is the sub-consultant to Dokken this time, and that's for archaeological services that are required, for the Wagon Trail project. Again, Alta chose not to renew their contract. ASM Affiliates can also provide the archaeologists that are necessary for the project. ASM Affiliates proposal was for $351,000, and Dockin was able to knock that down to $319,426.08. So a $30-some-odd thousand reduction from their proposal. So similar to the contract with Dewberry, we're asking for you to go ahead and approve this amendment number 12 with Dockin. Again, for a maximum increase of $319,426.08 to a maximum of $7,925,637.12.
Thank you. Supervisor.
This final number, 7.9 million approximately, is that for the entire project time, or is that for the fiscal year?
That the total not to exceed, that's from their time when they started back in 18 or whatever it was to present, all encompassing.
Just, yeah, no, it's a
Good point.
broad number for a long period of time.
Good point.
Any other board comment?
I have a question. Why does it say supervisorial district number 2?
Oh, they have to bring it back. Typo.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's a big realignment. Realignment is now gone from District 4.
Right.
Is there any public comment regarding this item?
We have no online public comment.
With that, I'll bring it back to the board and ask for a motion.
I'll move the item as recommended by staff.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Passes 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Pedro. We'll move on to item 19.
Item 19, informational item, Administrative Office, receive a presentation from Public Access Television.
Sarah, do you need time to set up, or are you set up?
Just a couple minutes would be great.
It's ready.
Do you want to take a break? Yeah. Yeah, let's take a break and we'll reconvene at 9:35.
That's not.
So, Calaveras Public Access is the heart of local broadcasting for Calaveras County, dedicated to sharing stories, events, and voices that make our community unique. As a community-driven platform, we strive to create programming that reflects the values, interests, and stories of our community, empowering individuals to share their voices and shaping a stronger and more informed Calaveras. In the last year, we have been developing relationships with not only community members who wish to tell their stories, but also government departments like OES, Public Health, the Sheriff's Department, Animal Services, and others. What we have been aiming for is to become more than public access, but a communication center. But instead of me telling you about these partnerships, let me show you.
Hi, my name is Justin Barnes. I'm a department analyst for Calaveras County Public Health, and it can't be understated the value that PATV has in the community. Having a resource available for any community member to be able to come in and let their voice be heard on media platforms can be tremendously powerful. And having that available to any community member, regardless of their background or their social status, they have the option to get their message out to the community because of public access TV.
PATV's helped us out in the last couple of years by coming out to our community events like town halls. We host an annual emergency preparedness day. and they come out and highlight our community events and show them out to the public.
You know, we have our social media followers, the people that are on Everbridge, but our job is to really reach every demographic possible, and PATV helps us reach thousands of customers that are a demographic that we're not usually engaging with. So this is a great opportunity for us to have a whole community kind of approach in our messaging and our education, and continue to strive to fill gaps.
This year, Calaveras County Public Health has partnered with Calaveras County Public Access Television to work on a few projects and really expand our communications reach in the community and help diversify how we communicate with people and the way we get information to the public. And some of those ways has been developing public service announcements, and we're really hoping to expand on those in the future.
Hello, I'm Faye Morrison from Calaveras County. I didn't grow up with computer language, and I find that a detriment now. I came and have been coming weekly all this year, and meeting with a very kind and patient leader who tactfully calls what she does tech help.
I joined Future Filmmakers because I really enjoy photography. I wanted to learn more about cameras, and I wanted to get into filmmaking and videography.
I joined because me and my sister are homeschoolers, and we're always looking for new activities and like events and, you know, clubs to join and stuff. I joined because I've had an interest in filmmaking for a little while, and this place provides a really great opportunity to learn all about that.
Public Access TV and Calaveras County Animal Services has been working together in trying to promote our animals, promoting all of the different programs that we offer.
We've had a lot of positive response from our connections on social media, you know, like way to up the game. These videos look great. These cat videos are so cute. You know, really glad that you're doing this. So glad you're partnering with Calaveras Public Access. So I think it's a really great thing that we're fortunate to have in our community.
So one of the videos that we worked with the Calaveras Animal Shelter was of Mimsy. Now, Mimsy was an older cat. She had some health issues, and she just couldn't seem to find the right person to adopt her. So this video that we had worked with the Animal Services had alone viewed 1,500 times since Animal Services posted it back in October 19th. And we were extremely excited to find out that she was adopted in November. So yeah, I mean, that relationship is huge. And this is just us learning how to work together on a project that got Mimsy into her forever home. So now let's imagine what the future for a minute would look like, where PATV has been working alongside other departments to get professional, informative videos out to the community. So in the future growth of PATV, we would love for any department to be able to come into the studio, sit down, and film. And God forbid, when an emergency hits Calaveras County, PATV can become a centralized media center to capture and broadcast emergency information out to the public. Now, department logos, live feeds, open captions, quality content become the visual branding for viewers to recognize and view into. We've already talked with Public Health and OES about sitting down and going over how to make this happen for the future. We've also started a strategic plan for PATV to map out how to achieve this dream. But for right now, we have been doing studio equipment updates. We have been updating our equipment with the help of the DFCA Fund and our nonprofit CCTV. In studio, we have 3 new 6K Studio Blackmagic cameras, along with our new studio switching system and lighting. We are working with IT to update the camera switching system in this boardroom up to 4K. They just started coming in. We measured the room for wiring, so that would be a new, exciting adjustment. We have new cameras and audio equipment for the field that just came in also last week. And with each upgrade, our production value has increased immensely. With the updated field kits, we will continue the film community gatherings such as weather preparedness events, the state of the county, park and rec surveys, and other town hall informative meetings. We also sent out an email to the Board of Supervisors just to let us know what showcase you guys would want in your district too. We want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to see everything in Calaveras County. So with that, it allows community members who cannot make it to the events can access them online and also on our broadcast channels. The other thing that we have been working on this year is making our relationship with CCTV even healthier. So with teaming together with CCTV, we can only succeed in creating a healthy broadcast center. They have been fundraising to help the studio and pick up where PATV cannot. CCTV, alongside Calaveras County Film Commissioner, put on the Wild and Scenic Film Festival last year, where the attendees can't wait for its return in May. They finished up on their third Love Your Pet photo and video contest, which was mentioned earlier during staff announcements. They worked alongside Focus on that event, and it was a hit, and which has also led us to working with the Animal Services on this event for next year. They've also got a $10,000 grant from Calaveras Community Foundation to help with the Future Filmmakers Club. With their support, we were able to update lights in the studio, purchase a cinematic camera, and audio equipment. Our two programs coming out of the studio as of now are the Creative Hub and the Future Filmmakers Club. The Creative Hub is for community members who want to come in, meet, and collaborate on media projects. We are hoping to build producers in this program that can go out and film more community content that our staff cannot because of the power that we have. They meet on the third Wednesday of the month. Our Future Filmmakers Club is geared for middle and high school students with about 15 members and growing. They meet every Monday and Thursday. These kids are running their own show called Up Next, where they either do a talk show or they write a little mini skit. It's super cute. And there is an amazing amount of talent in this group. With the Calaveras County Foundation grant from CCTV, the kids will be showcasing this talent by writing and producing out their own short film that we will submit into the film festival market, so then people can see the talent of Calaveras County, not just within our local environment. This program will be a 12-week program. Our amazing film committee in Calaveras County has also offered to come out and help mentor these kids on this project. We are hoping to be able to showcase this film at the very first Calaveras County Horror Film Festival that we are hoping to have up and running by this October. The Creative Hub and the Future Filmmakers Clubs are not the only way that the community members are getting involved with PATV. We also do studio tours for groups and clubs to come in and experience what a working broadcast studio is like. When the transition program at Calaveras County Office of Education came in, a young man was interested in doing a podcast on his perspective as a blind man. Hearing the creative side of Calaveras County has been one of my favorite things about working at PATV. We continue to have our amazing local creators producing their shows in the studio and checking out cameras to capture the heart of Calaveras County on video. We cannot thank Al and Susan enough for their years of informative content for both PATV and CCTV. We are looking forward to a new senior fitness show. We're bringing back Inside View, so people who have any information that they want to get out to the public about Calaveras County will give them a platform. And we're also in the productions of other productions that are in pre-production right now. With the help from our amazing team at PATV, John, Sam, and Susan, we are getting an average of 1,800 views per month on YouTube with over 1,100 subscribers and counting. What I would like to do is focus on pursuing streaming capabilities so we can get out to more members and community members that are not strictly on broadband. I would like to pursue this in 2026. Thank you so much for letting me brag to you guys about PATV. Do you guys have any questions?
Supervisor Fallenberg?
I don't have questions. I just want to say thank you for growing the program. I think when I first got on this board, we all weren't quite sure where this was going to go, and it's really, you've done it, not just you, but everyone else in your department and the community members have really grown this program into something that I think we can be proud of, and there's more to come. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sarah, I echo that. I think you did a fantastic job, and you've done it
fantastic job growing this, coming from where it was. It's been around for a number of years. Ed and Joan had it for a long time, and they brought it to a certain point. And then you've taken it past that. You've upgraded everything and just done a fantastic job. You got kids coming back there. That was part of a problem when COVID hit. We had classes before, and now you have it. One of the questions I had, and there were some comments from a gentleman that came here about a month or so ago, representing Delta College. Mm-hmm. Have you had contact with them about this class that you're putting on, and maybe them promoting it, or?
So Susan has been in contact with them, and we're hoping to pursue that relationship. And yeah, definitely turn our center more into education along with communications would be a dream. So yes, we're pursuing it.
Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other board comment? I'd like to say thank you for all the work that you do and all the updating that you've done. And I think it's incredibly important for our youngsters to understand if they do have that talent and if they do have this love, they can go very far. I always think of Manuel Crosby. You know, there's a Valley Springs kid who, you know, his first directorial debut ended up at the Sundance Film Festival, which is huge. So even if you don't go on to film later on in life, the confidence and the ability to know that you can actually complete a project, I think, is hugely important, and I thank you for that work. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And speaking of Manuel Crosby, he is one of our mentors for the 12-week program for the kids, so he's coming back into the county and helping out.
Awesome. Is there any public comment regarding this?
What do you know? I'm going to speak. First, let me echo the remarks of the board members. I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I remember a time Mr. Tofinelli was first running for office. I had a place on the golf course, and this guy comes knocking at my door. I'm watching community television, Mr. Tofinelli at the time, and that house became a party house for a while. It's just anyway. I think I need a TV show. I'd love to talk to people.
Perfect. Come on down.
Yeah, I'll come on down there. Maybe I'll have you folks on there. We can all talk instead of talking behind your back, so we can just talk in front of you. How about that? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Galino.
Good morning, Chair, Honorable Board. Kathy Galino, Economic and Community Development Director, and also actually President on CCTV. And I can't say enough about Sarah, John, Susan, the work that they do, especially recently with our broadband discussion and the videos that they did for us very quickly. Less than a week, we had, 8 videos that we did
9, yeah.
that I think were very impactful to the CPUC. The studio does so much work. There's even more that Sarah didn't even touch on, but there's a lot more that they do, especially outreaching to the community through emergency, through non-emergency, through fun events. They're just wonderful. They're a great gem.
Thank you so much. Is there any other public comment? As this is an informational item, please thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stacey, you want me to close this?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to item number 20.
Item 20, resolution planning. 1, conduct a public hearing. 2, adopt a resolution approving the addendum to the EIR for the general plan, SCH number 2017-012043, finding that the project is also exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15183 for the CEQA guidelines. And 3, adopt a general plan amending, adding a description, goals, and policy for Copperopolis in the community planning element of the general plan.
And with that, I'll open a public hearing.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Peter Maurer, Planning Department. This is the Copperopolis Community Plan, long awaited. When we adopted the general plan in 2019, we included the community planning element, which has goals, policies for various communities that are unique to those communities. When we adopted the plan, there were several holes in that section. Primarily, the board's directive was let's finish up Valley Springs and Copperopolis. We adopted Valley Springs in 2020, and we are finally here for you with the Copperopolis Community Plan. Work on Copperopolis dates back to the 1990s, at least. Back then, we had standalone community plans where the general plan covered the county, but each community had its own plan. That has changed with the adoption of the 2019 general plan, where all of the policies that are countywide apply to each community, and the purpose of the community plans is to have focused policies that are unique to the unique aspects of that community. And Copper is unique compared to the other communities. It's sort of a simulation of several different communities. You've got the historic part of town. You've got the homes down by Tulloch. You've got the new commercial center at Town Square. And you've got the newer subdivisions at Saddle Creek in that area. But trying to fit all those together, I think, is sort of the unique attempt at this community plan. As I said, it's been going on for many, many years under former director Gabriel Elliott. This was picked up again a couple of years ago and finally dragging it across the goal line. It's probably not as robust as some of the community members would like, but I think we have full support of the community and the disparate parts of that community as well. So the Planning Commission heard this in January. They made a few minor modifications to it and recommended approval. So at this point, unless you have any questions of me, I recommend that you approve the addendum, and find that it's exempt from CEQA and adopt the general plan amendment to incorporate Copperopolis community plan into the community planning element. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I mean, as you went through the history of getting to this point, and, when I was on the Planning Commission in 2016, it was like, put it in now, hold it out later, the conversation. I think at this time, the community as a whole is not as conflicted on the issue. And that shows the good work that has gone in by the staff, you, the people following you, to coming to this point. So I just want to say good job at getting here. And because it was no easy climb to come to this culmination. One question on the map here, I just want to make sure that the area of influence is within the red lines on the map.
Yes, so we have adopted community plan boundaries or community area boundaries, and that would the plan would cover everything within that boundary line.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. I'm glad you came back so we could get this across the finish line. But more importantly, thank you to the community. This has been multi-year. Town halls, really, they navigated this really well in helping also bring this to fruition and finally get across the finish line. So a couple of them are here in the audience today. I know some couldn't join, but a big heartfelt thank you to the community for participating and getting this complete. I don't think myself or staff could have done it without you guys, so thank you. And I'm just really excited to finally see it in front of us so we can get on to the next part of a strategic plan too. So, thank you.
Thank Thank you, Supervisor. Any other comments from the board? With that, I'll ask, is there any public comment?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors, County Council, and CEO Hitchcock. My name is Janet Sterling. I'm a 25-year resident of Copper, and as Peter stated, this has been a long time coming. We appreciate the fact that our supervisor, Amanda Follendorf, has been with us the entire journey through this process. We've had several town hall meetings, several meetings with various folks. So as was stated, we didn't get everything we wanted, but we do feel that everybody had input from the community to the developers. We feel it's going to be a plan that's going to be very beneficial to the town of Copper. And I just wanted to thank, again, our supervisor for sticking to her promise of saying when she was elected and running that she was going to get this plan through. It's been a long time coming. It's been a hard road, but super happy we're here, so we hope you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
I had an absolutely wonderful conversation with a member of the public here this morning, and oftentimes I forget about Copperopolis. But I've watched Copperopolis grow. I remember when I first visited Copperopolis, it was just a dusty, dry place. Later on, former supervisor Paul Stein was working for Saddle Creek, and I'd go over there, and I'd spend the night in their facilities at Saddle Creek, and it was just absolutely wonderful. But the thing that really, in visiting the town square and other places, the thing that really impressed me were the residents of this community, how dedicated they are, the small group, but also the greater number of people there that, even though they can't attend the meetings, even though they can't participate, still show concern and still have wants and needs. And through people like this, they make their those wants and needs heard. I'd also like to thank staff. It's good to see Peter Bauer here again and again. He's a fantastic planning. I don't know what we call him now. Planning consultant, or no longer director, but he's done a fine job for this county, and he is definitely an asset. I always mean to get up there to Murphy's and visit his establishment. You don't get a chance these days. But remember, even though this is a pretty tight county, distances are long, and time isn't always.
Struggle. I'm a terrible public speaker. My mother wasn't, but she was great. And Peter and his staff, we've worked through some bumps along the way, but we made it through. The community is going to be much better off with this, so I am asking for this board to pass and adopt our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yes, we have Tom and Vizio online. Tom?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Tom Infacino, Calaveras Planning Coalition. The Planning Department staff report and the Planning Commission recommend that the Board of Supervisors adopt the Copperopolis Community Plan. The Calaveras Planning Coalition is pleased to support those recommendations. Drafters based the latest plan upon the 2005 draft, the 2013 draft, and more recent community workshops and public comments. Last month, the Planning Commission hearing on the community plan, people from the Copperopolis area made suggestions to improve the plan. The Planning Commission was kind enough to accept those suggestions. Nobody from the Copperopolis area spoke against adoption of the plan during the Planning Commission hearing. We thank county staff and community residents for their hard work on this community plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no further online public comment.
Thank you. And with that, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
I would like to move this item, please.
I will second that, and I will say this is congratulations, Supervisor Follendor. This has gone on since 2005. It's gone through Tryon, Fonte, Mills, and you finished it.
Yep.
Congratulations. I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is 5-0.
Now just the rest of them, Peter.
Well, thank you. I just want to say this is my final act as the interim. So my swan song, I'll exit stage left here, but I want to thank Teresa for her support. Brett, you've got a great planning director. I feel like I'm really leaving the department in really good hands, and the board, we work well together. And it's been a pleasure working with you again. Up by the winery someday.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, we'll move on now to item 21, the last item on our agenda.
Item 21, informational item, Public Works. Conduct a study session and provide staff direction on 1, preferred method of resolving future structural budget deficits in the road fund, and 2, development of the draft 2025 SB1 project list and multi-year paving program.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, a new perspective on life here. So staff scheduled this study session. It's a two-part study session. The first part relates to the structural deficit in the county's road fund that we discussed back in November. And your board took definitive action at that time to deal with past and current year deficit. And I needed to come back to you with the study looking forward and how we're going to address this issue. So that's really part one of the study session today, and I would say the most important because you're talking about your bread and butter. How do we provide road maintenance moving forward, in Calaveras County? The second part will address talking about where we go with SB1 funding in the future with the solution to our operating deficit in mind. So as far as part one, I'll just start by talking about that for many years now, our traditional funding sources for road maintenance has not kept up with the cost of providing those services. And specifically, the one that's been out there the longest has been key to funding road maintenance is our gasoline taxes, otherwise known as HUDA, or the highway user taxes. They're still coming in, but they are dwindling, and a lot of that just has to do with more fuel-efficient cars, the onset of hybrids, full electric vehicles, and so forth. If you're not burning fuel, you're not paying those taxes. And this has been something that I can say in my career, at least in the last 25 years, this has been something that's been on the radar, and there really hasn't been a definitive change in how we fund our road maintenance, not just in California, but throughout the country. Fortunately, SB1 came along in 2017. It was not meant to be an end-all, but it was meant to be a help, in this area. So what I'm describing with you today is not just a Calaveras County issue. It's a statewide issue, and actually, it's a nationwide, issue. Moving on. So with those solutions in place that we did in November, now we have to look forward to 25, 26, and beyond. And that really is the primary purpose of this agenda item today. We need some response, reaction, recommendations from your board. So how big is the problem before us? Included in your staff report are projections of your traditional road revenues and also expenses. And I mentioned when I was, here in November talking about those things. I told you I'd come back and make sure that we looked for any way that we could to enhance our traditional funding sources, which aren't a whole lot of option things that we can influence, but also to look at our expenses to make sure that we're minimizing those expenses as much as we can. So on the top of the second page of the staff report, you see it lays out what our projected revenues and expenses are for our traditional road maintenance efforts. It shows that our revenues would grow over that 5-year period from about $9.9 million to $10.4 million. That's not very much over a 5-year period. And the only reason we're seeing any growth in there is actually due to an apportionment of statewide collections of property tax. So it's nothing that relates to the activity here in Calaveras County. It's just an allocation that comes from the state. And that is the only revenue that's really growing consistently, and that's what's supporting that mild increase. Your gas tax, revenues, there's like 4 different categories of that, and you put them all together, and they're either flat or going down, and that's what's really happening. And the other sources are just essentially flat. There's just nothing happening there, and it's been going on for some time. In the expense world, your salaries and benefits show continuous growth, and that's not a bad thing. It's mean you're taking care of your employees. You've done that through your recent MOU approvals that you've done with your labor units. So they've seen some salary increases, which is again a good thing, respecting what the market values of those positions are. And we also have people going through their merit step increases. So that's fine. The projections also do assume the elimination of 4 positions that are recommended to be taken out of the budget due to reduced workload. That's not the focus of today's discussion. You will be discussing that when the mid-year budget report comes to you guys next meeting. But I also wanted to mention that because that has been factored in our projections, not budget, just projections. Otherwise, our service and supply costs reflect a slight but continual increase that contains things such as your road materials. All other expense categories pretty much remain flat, though I did put a caution in here that our A87 costs, which those aren't familiar with it, it's called federal. Help me out. The federal circular A87, which dictates how overhead is calculated.
It's the countywide cost allocation plan.
Right. And we don't control that. It's all prescribed. It has to be done, and that has potential of going up. It can fluctuate quite a bit for the different funds throughout the county. And also just to note that we're fortunate to replace a lot of our equipment back using some funding from the Butte Fire, but road equipment is expensive. And just one road grader today would be
$700,000. So
it's pricey equipment. And Michael and his team will need to look at that moving forward. But it's just a reminder, that stuff is still before us. So we're looking at a deficit, a structural deficit that can range between $2 to $2.5 million over the next 5 years. How do we address this? So there's some options towards the bottom of that page. We could establish new transfers from the general fund to the road fund. But in the same breath, I know the general fund is tight. It's main source for it's a main source of flexible funding in the county, and it's pretty well stretched as it is. But it's an option. Also, you could consider allocating an additional share of TOT receipts to the road fund, given past ballot measures have listed road maintenance as eligible uses of those dollars. Again, a lot of pressure on that limited resource, but road maintenance is one of the things specifically listed, and your board could consider additional allocations. If you're interested in that, I know that CEO Hitchcock and her assistant Marcos are ready to address that if you'd like. Third option, just listed there, continually evaluate ways to increase funding, minimize expenses, and that's something that your Public Works Director should be doing on an ongoing basis. So I'm very confident that Micah will be doing that with his team, moving forward. And that leaves the final option that I can think of, and that is to make the policy decision to pivot from using 100% of our annual SB1 allocation towards contracted pavement projects and shift to funding traditional road maintenance activities performed by our road crews as the top priority, with the balance of annual SB1 allocations applied to contracted pavement projects. So that's going to be really the big issue for today. On the third page, give you an idea of what that would look like. It shows what SB1 revenue would be contrasted against our projected operating deficit, and then how much money might be available still for contracted pavement work if you were to make that change. And just so you can see, SB1 revenue still is growing. It's projected to go from $3.8 million in 25-26 to almost $4.8 million in 29-30. So that's growing for now. And again, I'll just emphasize that's still not the final solution. At some point, state and federal folks have got to get together and deal with this ongoing road maintenance funding. But for time being, that is the game that's in town. So it shows that roughly, if to use SB1 and to fund your operational deficit for your traditional road maintenance activities, and then split that with contracted pavement work, it's almost a 50-50 split. It's a little bit more towards traditional road maintenance through your crews, about 51 to 52%, and then the balance of that could still be going towards road pavement work. I did want to mention to your board that I did go looking to see, even though I knew this would be the case, of all the other counties in the foothills, all the way from Mariposa, all the way up to Nevada, El Dorado, just to see, what are they doing in this area, just so you have a feel for that. And it ranges from 100% of SB1 going into their traditional road maintenance activities to, again, some mixture of both. So you're not alone. Staff also looked onto the CTC website and looked at the project work that's being done, how the monies are being split, and it's showing that basically same pattern where there's some kind of a split going on with counties throughout the state between using it for traditional road maintenance through your city or county crews and pavement, contracted pavement work. So this is not new and different. This is something that most of the cities and counties in the state are doing this already, splitting it in some way or another. So I've given you those the different alternatives for you to consider. And then, so before moving on out of this section of your study session, this is where I look to you to ask the question here, because it's clear that SB1 is the main source that you can turn to, and again, we're grateful that we have that available. Possibly there might be some of the TOT that you could access that would reduce the deficit, and therefore you would use less of the money for your road maintenance, more available for pavement projects. But the question for you, are you ready to make that pivot and say it's okay to go ahead and use SB1 first to fully fund your traditional road maintenance effort, through your crews, and then second, then to use the balance of that for your pavement work. And that's really the foundation of our future for how we do our traditional maintenance through the road fund and how we do our paving projects in the future. And again, that's really the most important thing that I'm looking for from this board today before we talk about future paving projects and things like that. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn that back over to you.
Thank you. Do we have any board comments? Supervisor Stopper.
Ms. Pondorf? I'm for moving forward and keeping our current road workers going on the good jobs they do and keeping that as funded as possible. And then, like you just said, we'll get on to our capital improvement plan section of that. So that's following up. So there's ideas following up to get to that end that I think all the board members may have. I have a couple I'm willing to give to be able to make sure that happens. And, just with my thought process, keeping all the people in the line, let's call them the line workers that are out in the field getting stuff done, all of them in their positions and providing the quality work that they already provide in the future and keeping them going, keeping our constituents happy. Because the two things I get calls about the most, roads and safety when it comes to fire, law enforcement and everything else. Roads is up there, one of the top ones. So I appreciate the work they do, and we need to keep as many of them doing it as possible.
Thank you. Supervisor Fallenberg.
I will echo what Ben said. I think one of the projects on this that's going to be that's not helping with this budget happens to be in my district, and I think we need to re-look at that when you bring the CIP back. Make sure that the road crews are able to do the day-to-day things that need to make people happy, our constituents, and also help with this solution solving as we deal with this budget. And what that looks like, I'm open to all suggestions and other recommendations, and I'm open to all those recommendations to see what is the best avenue for us to get this resolved, to keep at a bare minimum the potholes full.
Thank you. I'd like to add to what my colleagues have said and just say thank you to the road crews. And Jason, amazing work. We got to keep it going. I did have one question about the SB1 revenue. It will increase, but obviously the cost of paving is going to increase as well. So are they on the same scale, or?
So far, based on the forecast, it shows that we'll gain on it a little bit with these projections, primarily with the SB1 increase. But again, it's not the final solution, but it will take care of it for the foreseeable future while folks get together on a permanent road funding revenue source.
I have another question. So while we might be resolving the short term, you mentioned that things are leveling out, if not declining. Once we get past this first hurdle, will we be able to discuss what we are going to think about going into the long-term future? Okay, 20, 25 years out, we could be doing vehicle per mile. What does that look like? We've got other things coming down the pipe. So this is just one piece of it, but is staff looking at that at a near future? I'm not talking about next month, but to see what we're going to do long term.
You want to take us away?
Sure, I can take that. Thank you, Chair Huberty and the supervisors. Micah Martin, your new Public Works Director. So, thinking about this moving forward, it's something all Public Works Directors and the roadway managers and everybody is keeping an eye on. And there is legislature with the state to address this very issue, to convert from a pay-at-the-pump method to more of a vehicle miles traveled type of method. And there's a lot of details to work out, but it's on the radar. It needs to be addressed. And so we'll continue to monitor that, continue to stay up to date with the CEAC, APWA. All those organizations are very good at keeping us informed, keeping us involved, getting us involved in legislature when opportunities come up to advocate for that. So we'll be continuing to watch that and add input and support wherever we can. And as things do begin to change or start to adjust, we'll adjust with it as well, so we could make sure we optimize and maximize the effort that's coming from that.
Thank you. Is there any public comment regarding this? Andrew.
Good morning, Chair, Board of Supervisors, Ms. Hitchcock. I'm sorry, Mr. Martin, you had to meet with me on your first day on the job, and now one of your first agenda items, you get to hear from me as well. So I truly apologize. So the board letter attributes the road funding deficit to declining gas consumption from fuel-efficient and electric vehicles. But let's be honest. The real issue surfaced on October 22nd, 2004, when Mr. Pedro, the interim director, uncovered a misallocation of ranging between $3.8 and $7 million at the department's highest levels. Solely blaming hybrid cars is disingenuous. And now the administration's solution is to eliminate 4 positions, which is assumed, even though we're in the middle of a meet and confer, and 3 of those positions are from the SEIU 1021 bargaining unit. Even though, like I said, we're in the middle of a meet and confer. Instead of holding those responsible, accountable, you're targeting workers who make about $20 an hour. People who had nothing to do with creating this crisis. Calaveras County prides itself on being a close-knit community. How can anybody think that this is a good solution to this problem? How can anybody think that this is rational and that this is the way to solve the problem? This decision betrays those values. We see the elephant in the room, and we will fight to ensure our members don't pay for others' mistakes. I remain hopeful that a fair solution, and we truly appreciate Ms. Hitchcock's efforts in helping us get there. She's been instrumental in getting us as far as we've gotten. But until then, we will not remain silent. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Stockman.
I'd like to remind you folks that these road crews, they know me. They know where I live. They're my neighbors. And if at all possible, we try to support our neighbors, and because they support us, and that goes for the road crew. You know, in the past, and try not to do it anymore because some people might get upset, I'd drop off bottled waters and sodas on hot days for the guys. And it's part of my commitment to make sure that we take care of the people in our community. You're not going to eliminate 4 positions. You're going to bring things in-house as much as possible. You are going to take a fine comb over these numbers. You're going to find where you can save money. I bet there are all kinds of places where you can save money. Speaking of money, a while back, I told Hitchcock about some damage that the county had done to my gate and my fence. And she recommended that I send an accounting to the Public Works. And so I sat down at my desk and got out a pen, some paper, wrote everything out, folded it up, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on that, and sent it to Public Works. I have not heard anything back. It's been many, many months. I'm upset. And it really is the only reason I ever came to these meetings to begin with. You know, I was, after the pandemic, and during the pandemic, 2019, I had stopped. Any public involvement. I had stopped going to many of the restaurants. And I decided, well, I'm going to be a little more like my long-dead grandfather. I'm going to buy a Cadillac and just go to Original Joe's and a few restaurants that I know. But it's been well over a year that I've been pounding away at this problem, the money that I want. They're like Shylock. I want my pound of flesh. So, with that, remember my money too.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? As this is an informational item, we need to know the direction, right?
Just looking for
the second part.
Well, then, what I'm hearing from the board is there is a willingness to, to make a pivot, not put 100% of the money towards paving projects, but to split it with covering the traditional road maintenance costs, and then the balance going towards paving. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Now, our road crew, and I've done other men, I've heard nothing but good things from you guys, about you guys over the course of the last couple of years. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Just keep it up, Scott. Although you're the one guy I hear a lot about. Good job, guys.
Okay. Well, then we'll move on to phase 2, session 2 here. That's looking towards the development of a future project list. So I want to just do a quick review of the foundation of what we'll do with the new SB1 program, because that's comprised of, we have our SB1 2025 list that's going to have to be submitted in a few months from now. But I think more importantly, we're going to want to note, get some feedback from the board so we can start constructing that first year program so that we can get the bid documents ready to go. Because I've heard from the board before, let's get this stuff out early, get it done in the summer, and don't wait until spring. So for 2025, definitely like to, promote getting that worked out as quickly as possible, realizing the full 5-year CIP is going to take a longer period of time. So just by way of review, as part of that November action, the board did move $3.32 million from the road fund into a special revenue fund just for SB1. And that's really key, because that way it kind of locks up that money that can only be used, just for the eligible uses. In the future, money will come from the state. It goes into the special revenue fund, and then however the money is spent, it won't be moved from that special revenue fund to the road fund or our capital fund until and unless it's deemed an eligible expense, and will be moved as the expenditures are occurring, so that we will stay on top of it. And that's structurally how we, be good stewards of that money moving forward.
May I add that, and or approval by the board?
Correct.
To that process.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the structure. We did move that one-time money over, cumulative money over to the special revenue fund. On the next page, 351 of your packet, you can see at the top it talks about potential uses of that initial deposit. And I listed 4 different ways you could go with that. And again, just putting these things out there for any feedback you may have. First, like any new business, you should have some working capital to begin with, just for cash flow to accomplish the purposes of your program. And that's something that I think would be very helpful to have that. So as bills or projects are being paid for, crews are being charged, we'll make sure that we always have enough money in that fund that we can then transfer over and not cause a lack of cash in those other funds. Second, and this is very, very pleased, I think I mentioned this to the board before, is in looking at how SB1 money could be used, I was very excited to see that you could actually use SB1 also for matching purposes. So you can use it as seed money to try and multiply the use of that money by leveraging additional funds. And that's exciting. You don't see that very often. So I think that would be a fantastic use for some of that money, especially this one-time money as well. And the third would be to simply augment, funding. Say you come in with your annual list of projects and you need just a few $100,000 more to get done all of what you really want to get done. then you could always pull from there to augment that and get those things accomplished. The only thing with that is if you do use it in that way on a regular basis, you could dwindle that money. If you don't replenish it, then you could cause cash flow problems, and then you also take away your matching dollars as well. So if you're going to use it to augment, you just need to consider how much is appropriate. And lastly, of course, you could do any combination of those things. But really what the underlying recommendation is keep the bulk of that money available in your special revenue fund so you could accomplish all of these different options. So what I'm suggesting in the staff report is, and there is no magic to this, but I would recommend keeping at least $3 million of that initial 3.32 million in that SRF fund for those types of uses. That would free the 320,000 and change that you could use in the upcoming year's allocations for capital for your contracted paving projects. Again, that's just some recommendations that you can consider. You don't have to make these decisions today. I'm just giving you the benefit of my thoughts. Would you like me to pause as I go through this section, or just keep going through?
I'd prefer you finish up, because I think if we start nitpicking as you go through, I'll keep everyone here all day.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, I was just going to say, you don't need to make decisions on this part today. Your feedback will help the staff guide them as to how to structure your future programs. So under the category of how much money is available for next year, with the amount of money that wouldn't be used in that, based on the forecast, about $1.9 million would not be needed for regular road maintenance. That'd be available for capital for contracted projects. You could add to that 320,000 off the top of that one-time money that was moved over. That would give you about $2.2 million as a pool of money that you could use for paving projects in 25, 26. In thinking about this, we were looking at your original project list that was put together back when Josh Pack was your director. We went and looked at that 2020 list of projects and said, we ought to, as a matter of integrity, try to look at that and make sure that we've caught most everything from that list in the 2025. And there's where you can certainly have lots of discussion about, what's been done or done sufficiently before you move on to looking at new things. But as we were also looking at that, there were still 3 projects that stood out to the staff for funding in 2025, just candidates. One was Harvickson Lane. CCWD as the lead on a project with the county share of costs. They're doing some work. When they're done, they're going to pave, and then we would reimburse them for the formula that you guys have put together when you're coordinating with utility districts, which I've said before, I'm going to say it again, I think it's fantastic what you do. So people are so tired of seeing roads newly paved, and then someone puts a stripe in it. You guys are doing it right. You're getting the utilities done ahead of time, so when it is paved, it stays that way. So kudos to you on that. Another one was Baldwin Street. That had a price tag of around $700,000 based on what was in your CIP. Each of these estimates need to be looked at new and afresh, but that was there. And these are these two projects are the only ones left from the original as amended that have had no work performed on them to date. The third project had some work performed in 2022, but far less than planned and far less than what was needed. And that was some work on O'Burns Ferry Road. The amount that was in the CIP, again, would have to be reevaluated, was approximately $1.5 million. But one thing that's all 3 of those projects had in common, they're the only ones that the board listed for funding in 2025 in each of the last 3 CIPs. Again, doesn't mean you can't consider other things, but I think that's notable of the intent of the board was to make sure that Harvickson, Baldwin, Burns were taken, to be taken care of. And it goes on just saying that, if those are the 3 that you want to do, they come to about 2.7 based on those original estimates. It's about $500,000 short of our available funding. If the board wanted to go ahead and pursue those as top priorities, then we could look at different ways to see if we could advance all 3 at the same time. And some of those options are listed, in the staff report. So how should the staff prepare your multi-year paving program for 2025 for your 2025 road CIP? Year 1, whatever the combination is, the magic combination of your 2025 SB1 list, that would be your year 1 of your next 5-year CIP, and then the remaining 4 years would come. And staff would recommend those candidate projects would be recommended using a data-driven process, which is similar to what you did back in 2020 when your Public Works Director, Josh Pack, did use your pavement management study, use that data to help construct the development of that list. And at this point, it's a nice pivot point. I'm starting to channel Peter right now. This is probably one of the last things I'm going to be presenting to your board. And actually, I'm excited about the fact that you guys, have made, I think, a very good choice in your next Public Works Director, Micah. I think he's going to be great. I was on part of the panel, and I think it was when he got done talking with us, the comment really was made, bolt the doors and don't let the man out of the building. So I'm excited about him being here, and then Senior Engineer Jen Ellis are going to be participating, on these things in the future. And with that, I'm gonna slide off away from this table and let Jen move over. I'll be close to the podium if needed. But it makes a point that there's a new team on board now. I'll be right there if you have questions of the old one.
This isn't a final, but I thank you for the gaps that you bridged. It's phenomenal work, and dealing with people like me and other supervisors. Good job.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thanks for picking up my phone call.
Yes, ma'am.
Greg.
Well, I actually just want to thank Craig, myself personally, for all the help and work he's done to go into this, and he's really set the table well for me coming on board, and I really appreciate how much he cares about this organization and the department. So it's great, and I'm going to miss him. All right, so we've got Jen Ellis coming up here with us. She's our senior engineer, and between her and I, we're really going to be your CIP team moving forward. So we'll be working with you regularly on the CIP each year as it gets programmed, any adjustments that we need to make as we bring projects forward for approval by the board. This will be your team that you'll be working with. So like Craig mentioned, we're really coordinating and striving to take a data-driven approach as we make considerations to the CIP and where the project needs are at. We've got the pavement management plan that's been done, and a lot of good work has come out of it, and there's still more that can be done. We want to maximize our effort with this program and make sure we're exhausting all the avenues that are being recommended in it. In addition to that, we want to partner with the COG as much as we can, coordinating with them on projects that are available, CMAQ funds, all those other things. We want to make sure we're maximizing all those opportunities wherever we can. And that project capital that we talked about will be our key for that, and leveraging that money where we need to take advantage of those opportunities as they come up. And in addition to those, we're going to be making sure considerations given to public input, input from the board, and willing to be flexible and make changes as needed so that we know we're addressing the right projects at the right time.
Me?
Yeah, you got label.
I'll try just, it's such a broad conversation to give direction, so I'll try to keep it linear so I don't jump all over the place. So first of all, I'll address one thing real quick, because part of this will be coming back with the mid-year budget and adjustments coming forward. I spoke to you briefly yesterday along with Mr. Pedro, and it was a good, healthy conversation. Any changes that come to staffing or anything moving forward, I asked directly that you would have reasoning and why it's going to be there for me to be able to support each change going forward. There has to be a good reason, but as you know, going forward with seeing the actual numbers, no matter how we got here, there's going to be a little pain everywhere in the very end, and that's just my honest opinion from where I'm sitting. So with that moving forward, by no fault of staffs, but you know what, it's where we're at with the final roads that haven't been finished in the capital improvement plan. So I mean, Ms. Fullendorf's District 4 and my District 5 are the last roads. So I was like, man, that kind of pits me against Ms. Fullendorf, and we're good at butting heads. So I went and gave her a call and tried to smooth it over on just that one small thing. And she already plans to smooth it over also. So with that, Mr. Pedro brought up earlier Park Vixen Road, because of the work CCWD is doing on it, is my understanding, and you'll have to call them and make sure. But I believe that's put off because of issues that have come up with it. So it's not on the timeline it was. So that money, seed money that we're putting into that fund with them to have that paid will be put off into the next CIP time. Now, we're contractually obligated for that money, but at this time I think that we can go ahead and that amount, I forget exactly how much it is off the top of my head, but having talked to you yesterday, I'm sure you have that in your pocket. How much is it?
485?
$485,000, I believe.
$485,000 of seed money that we can go in the next CIP immediately, and would love to see it done. I think part of that does go on to Baldwin, from there to the Usher area, because of that line going through that. But a majority of Baldwin is still open. I would love to see Baldwin possibly get going, because a majority of these roads have been put off because of us working smarter and with utility districts and not paving twice. So there's an additional, that 485 is the total for the areas on Baldwin and Hart-Vixen, but I would like to see Baldwin. I'm not going to say it. I'll let Amanda say it for O'Byrne's and what she would like to do, because, and then I would like to pick up after you say that real quick, and then on.
So I am going the same track as Ben was talking about O'Byrne's. You drove it recently. I think with O'Byrne, maybe we need to do a timeout. I think the number that's in here is not going to actually cover what really needs to be done. I think we talked about how some of these numbers were done years ago. Cost inflation had gone up significantly, and I think if we postpone that, do a more deeper dive on what that actually is going to be, that will help also with the $3 million short term, and then reevaluate this, putting back into the CIP, maybe in year 3 or 4 as we go along. So I'm willing to, I don't have an expectation, given what is going on right now, to have this done in this CIP, this current CIP. So I am open to moving that to help your department take a time out and breathe and figure out what this is going to look like.
Sure.
So I'll move it back over to Ben.
Thank you, Amanda. Look, you said here, I'm going to say off the top of my head, how much money was it for O'Byrne's Ferry that we have left? Because there was an expenditure already, so I think that takes out of that total sum for the amount saved on the CIP, unless you already did that math inside the agenda packet. And
Yeah, we addressed the Burns Ferry in the agenda packet, but
yeah, you said $1.4 million was projected for it. I was
Right.
wondering if that's what part of that was spent, or did you take that off the total sum? Because I didn't go back through the past agendas and.
yeah, with that project, because the bids came in so high, we made some adjustments to the scope of work and kind of minimized the scope to use as much of that money that was available as possible. So we'll have to reallocate more funds to that if we want to decide to do more work beyond what was already done.
But that's for the future. I'm talking about right now within our budget going into this year, because this is our first step. Yeah. We're going to bridge the gap with our mid-year coming up, and that's where my thought process is working. And then I want to talk about the CIP with the rest of the supervisors and hear what their ideas on how we should move forward with the rest of it. So, how much money?
I think it's around
1.4.
I thought it was 1.2, but
Okay.
whatever the difference is, whatever that difference is
spent.
from this 1.4, just, yeah.
Yeah, and forgive me for not being fully prepared with those numbers. Our point here today was to get approval from the board on using this method of how we program the money moving forward. We'll be returning back in March with an SB1 list recommended for which projects and how much money is going to need to be done.
Right. We're given direction right now.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
that you can come back with that list.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just, and overall, I hear you and I agree with your methodology and how you're going to bring it back to us. But, part of this is going into mid-year in a couple of weeks and us bridging that gap. So this is, this first part of Amanda being gracious enough to give up the rest of O'Byrne's until the future capital improvement plan comes forward. And then what we're giving up on Hart-Vixen for the time being going into that helps us bridge our gap.
Right.
Even more so than what you said on the, what was it, $320,423 was the difference
Right.
on what
The carryover,
we would,
yeah.
It wouldn't be carrying over. That would be in the red.
Right.
Right. So right now we're talking about putting us farther in the black with those projects until we spend the money on them later.
Yeah.
We're punting.
Yeah.
So, and just with that, with what I'm seeing, I want, going into mid-year, I think that's quite a bit of money, so that helps bridge the gap quite a bit more. I would like to see more money in the road fund when it comes to potholes and keeping our good guys out there busy and addressing emergency issues for the time being until we get to our budget for next year and our new capital improvement plan, and then and keeping up staffing on the people that are producing, and just streamlining administrative needs going forward. That's my intent on this year until we get a grasp on it and we move forward with your new plan and how we're going to make it happen in the future.
Great. So we'll definitely do that. We'll go back and revisit those numbers on the project. We'll go back with an SB1 list, give you an update on how the allocations are going to look moving forward, how much is going to the road crews, all that. We'll give you an update on that. And then when we come back in April with the CIP, we can talk even more broader base on when those projects should come back, when the timing's right. And we're going to make sure that, moving forward to Supervisor Fellendorf's comments, we're going to monitor estimates yearly. So when projects come in and there's new numbers updated on how much it costs to do a road project or a bridge project, we're going to adjust as we go so that those numbers don't get too old into the future. And then, we could have this discussion every year and talk about, make those cost adjustments and then, move projects around if we need to, whatever needs to happen. But we want to try to make sure we're working to keep those up to date.
Okay. And so for now, that's where I'm sitting.
Thank you. Any other board comments? Supervisor Topanoli?
I do. I'm looking at the attachment number 2, the 2024 CIP, in District 1. Main Street, San Andreas, hasn't been completed. Treat Avenue hasn't been completed. Lewis Avenue, that's part of a project that's part of a grant that we got, that Main Street was supposed to be part of the CIP program. It's listed here. Are we going to do anything with that? Are we pushing that off until we do the Pope Street improvements with that grant? What's going on with it? Because it's under the CIP in 2024. And we're talking about moving on to 2025 projects. So what's going on?
You have an update on that?
Yeah, so these were the road list on the original 2020 CIP.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that there was a swap for those roads for the work that was performed on Southworth Road in 2024. And then
Okay, and here's where I am on that.
substitute, I should say.
The road maps were never updated when we redistricted. Right now, you're spending a lot of money on Gold Strike Road, going all the way down. It's all in District 2. And I tried to say something and stop that. And stop that right there where it ends at District 1. Much like Southworth Road is paved and then all of a sudden it just stops. It was never completed, which I was going to bring up because that was never done. It's a nice road that you did, but from where you stopped, Hospital Road, is another mile that never, it's worse than ever was before. But now you're paving Gold Strike Road in District 2, who had a lot of roads paved to begin with because of fire and other CIP projects that should be in these areas in District 1. But yet it just kept going and we're not stopping it. And I tried to say stop it. Only paved to the end of District 1. So that's where that fund's going. You can say Southworth Road or whatever, removed it. But that money that you're paving for Gold Strike Road in District 2 should be right here in District 1 on these CIP projects that I just brought up.
And as you know, when we come back with the CIP, we'll make sure that we address any projects that haven't been touched or that have been deferred or whatever's happened there, and give an opportunity to get those back on a timeline that the board desires to have completed.
Well, you need to update the road maps to the restructured district. So when you're looking at what you're going to do, you're within the districts that you're supposed to be within. And that wasn't done, and that's why what's happened's happened.
We'll be sure to look at that.
So these need to be addressed. And Southworth Road needs to be addressed too, because I get nothing but complaints about that. It just stops. Why did you do half of it and didn't finish it? So those are my comments about District 1 in 2024 CIP projects. And going into a new one next year when you bring back, or this year when you bring back, going into the next year, it'd be heavy on my list. Okay?
Okay.
And echoing Gary, I think some of the same things happened with District 4 and 5 as well. There's some things. I don't know what the new supervisor's expectation is, but I know I'm still getting some complaints. So I would like to discuss that offline with you and the new supervisors that represent that area.
Certainly.
I was just wondering if you could explain the Gold Strike project. Isn't that part of that bridge restructuring project?
Oh, the current work that's going on out there right now? It's part of our bridge preventative maintenance program. It's federally funded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're working on 2 bridges off of Gold Strike right now.
This is the payment program, which is separate. She just explained it, but this is the payment program with CIP that's different than that funding. So it's separate from the work. Yeah, so it was basically any paving and striping that happened during that time. Correct, Jen?
Yes.
Yeah, the CIP will have different funding sources, and what we're talking about here today is SB1 funds and what's allowable for that. So once we get past the SB1 part and get that allocated, then we can talk CIP and all the other funding sources that are available and what other projects we could address with those.
Thank you. Is there any public comment regarding this item?
I'm going to comment on the supervisor's comment. Mr. Tofinelli, I've never seen you be so forceful and a great supervisor. That was so fantastic, the way you pointed out those problems. Thank you. That was worth the price of admission.
Any other public comment? Thank you.
We have no online public comment.
Thank you. Do we have the way forward for you?
No, I think we have the information we need to move forward, so we'll be happy to come back to you in March with our SB1 list, and then back again in April with the CIP program.
I look forward to working with you.
I just would like to, the augmentation part that was brought up earlier, I don't know if we addressed that directly or not. I just want to say that, you know, when you bring forward the plan, I'd love to see it, but I'm in favor of the augmentation plan because that helps, even with your doing cost adjustments moving forward. We're going to have opening a can of worms, unforeseen circumstances, cost escalation that was unforeseen based on geographic, geological things. I mean, I could go down the whole list that you're familiar with. So I'm in favor of that. How much that is a decision for the future.
Yeah, we'll bring forth a number, and that number could change year to year based on what project magnitudes we have, what other challenges we may be facing, what other funding opportunities become available for a match. So it doesn't have to be a set number. It could be a number assigned each year, and we could adjust as we go. But it's just an opportunity to, again, cover those expenditures that come up that are unexpected or required for matching. So.
And you need to get with Melissa with COG because they're going to be calling for projects going out. There's $2.2 million there that may be applied to some of these projects when you come back to us with your CIP.
I have a
that
meeting.
money could be utilized.
I have a meeting with her today, actually. So.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you on issues in my district. I get a lot of telephone calls, obviously, as Supervisor Stopper was saying, from constituents complaining about the roads and that they've lived there for 7 years. I'm like, hang on. On the other line, I've got somebody who's been there for 40 years and their road's never been fixed. So I look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's...
We're good.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. So that brings us to supervisor announcements.
In compliance with Government Code 53232.3D, board members shall provide brief reports on any meetings attended at the expense of local agency and may make other announcements or report out.
Supervisor Stopper.
Here.
Anything to report?
Not at this time.
Supervisor Tofinelli.
I have nothing to report this time.
Supervisor Follendorf.
Nothing to report.
Supervisor Handel.
Nothing to report.
I'm going to bore you all. Hang on. Sierra Nevada Conservancy is coming to Murphy's on March 5th and 6th. They're holding their board meeting here, and I've been working with them regarding that. On the 30th, I attended with Supervisor Follendorf. We went down to Sacramento, up to Sacramento, and petitioned for us to be put back on the agenda for our broadband. On the 4th, we did a gateway ribbon cutting, which was very successful. Supervisor Tofinelli spoke very eloquently, as did everybody else. And then I attended the Behavioral Health Advisory Board after that. On the 6th, I attended the Agency on Aging committee meeting. And on the 7th, I attended Sierra Nevada Council training session. That's it. So,
Sir, can I bring? Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Also, I'd like to add, I've been getting a lot of calls about policy coming towards us from the East Coast, and I just want to make sure that our constituents know that we're all on top of it. We will be on top of it, and as soon as we know what's going on, we'll be dealing with it. Thank you. So we'll adjourn at 11:05. Thank you all.